What was your biggest disappointment growing up? In the 90s, there were plenty of times that fragile, bowl-cut, sporting, jean jacket wearing little Mikey, that's me, was disappointed. Going to Blockbuster Video and seeing the only copy of Sunset Riders was rented out. Dropping Nickelodeon gack on the carpet. Being exposed to the Oklahoma City bombing on TV and seeing the world as a dark place. And in that moment, losing a little part of your innocence only to realize later on in life that you will never get that feeling back, so you create YouTube videos about the 90s as a way of coping with unprocessed trauma. Fruit stripe gum. In the 90s, we were treated to one of the biggest pop culture phenomenons ever to grace the arcade and the home video consoles. I'm talking about Mortal fucking Kombat. Now, understand something, that at that time, there were only 3 video game adaptations for the big screen. Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, and Street Fighter. None of those adaptations were what most would consider well-received by both critics and fans alike, and this put a lot of pressure on the upcoming Mortal Kombat movie. In August of 1995, Mortal Kombat the movie was released in theaters. Amazingly, Mortal Kombat managed to pull around $124 million in box office sales on a modest $18 million budget.
Oh, I like money.
Due to the success at the box office and average critical response, a sequel was given the green light to be released 2 years later.
Can't believe you like money too. We should hang out.
The end of the first Mortal Kombat movie managed to leave fans excited for the eventual sequel with the appearance of Shao Kahn and the expectation that combatants that didn't make it into the original movie would make an appearance in this one, like Jax or Kung Lao. No Kung Lao. Okay. What about Stryker? No. Okay. Well, this movie's gonna fucking suck, isn't it? As seen in this issue of GamePro magazine, the sequel was hyped by producer Lawrence Kasanoff, saying it's 3 times more ambitious than Mortal Kombat 1. This hype led to such disappointment. Now look, I'm not gonna go through the entire movie plot because, to be honest, for such a simple concept, you know, a tournament that decides the fate of humanity, the sequel manages to take a dumb yet simple premise and, well, turn it into this.
Father, the merger has begun. Earth is under attack, and it is glorious!
It was fun.
They have taken the bait and fallen right into our trap.
You've been tricked. Mother. You're alive. Too bad you will die.
This movie was such a huge disappointment for many reasons. As a kid, you kind of expect movies, especially genres or properties that you like, to be good. But eventually you reach the point in life where you can recognize that, yeah, this movie is dog shit. But kids are a bit more forgiving. Annihilation was just an immediate dose of reality that not every piece of media we consume is going to be revolutionary or mind-blowing. And I certainly wasn't thinking that at 14 years old, Mortal Kombat Annihilation was comparable in any way to 1993 drama A Perfect World. But considering what came before it with Mortal Kombat 1, yeah, God, this movie fucking sucks. It's bad. Now look, I can be very forgiving of movies that have bad plots. Billy Madison, Face Off, or Joe Dirt are objectively bad movies plot-wise. But none of those are based off of existing properties, and their paper-thin movements of characters and plot from one scene to the next, it can kind of be forgiven. But in the case of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the lore, at least at the time, wasn't convoluted or hard to follow. Gods and monsters in Outworld hold a tournament every generation and have to win one more in order to invade and conquer the Earthrealm. Fucking stupid. We are guided through the backstory and history at the same time as the main protagonist. Any adaptation of the game should follow in the footsteps of other films like Bloodsport or Enter the Dragon. Now, MK1 has some of those elements, but Annihilation goes the opposite direction, and it puts our heroes in a completely different ballpark.
Alone you are vulnerable, but if you work together as a team, you can do much. Faith in yourself is all you need.
After Shang Tsung is defeated in Mortal Kombat 1, our heroes celebrate their victory and learn a lesson in courage and science. friendship or some shit, I don't know. But the celebration is cut short by the appearance of Shao Kahn, and literally where Mortal Kombat 1 ends, Mortal Kombat 2 begins. And the problem with that is, from the very first few minutes of the movie, you notice it right away that, several actors have been replaced. Replacing Miss Veronica Vaughn is Sandra Hess, best known as, I don't know, Cave Nug from Encino Man.
What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah, that's the actual name. Say goodbye to Lyndon Ashby's Johnny Cage and say hello to, you know what? Why even bother? He dies in the first few seconds of the movie. That's bold. And of course, the biggest replacement of all, we have James, hey, I know I'm not your real dad, but I'm gonna need you to mow the lawn this afternoon, Remar, replacing Christopher Lambert's Lord Raiden.
I don't think so.
Now, like I said, Annihilation picks up right where the first movie left off, and Liu Kang, who just defeated Shang Tsung minutes before, now has doubts that he can defeat Shao Kahn.
What if I fail you? What if I fail everyone?
Raiden tells them that they have to gather more fighters to help in the final battle. Well, yeah, sure, it makes sense. But the fighters that they do encounter, like Subzero and Nightwolf, they make an appearance and they're just gone. Never to be, they left the movie.
Sweet dreams, Liu Kang.
What's happened here should prove you alone are not ready for what's ahead.
Later. So at the very end, you have the main cast of characters fighting the villains, just like it was about to be in the very beginning of the movie. Except now Raiden has a stupid haircut.
Never give up hope.
Jax believes in himself. And Sonya, she still can't fight.
Whoa! Yeah!
Damn!
Mortal Kombat Annihilation's production budget, despite being twice the amount of the first movie, looks like this.
Whoa!
Again, Mortal Kombat 1 wasn't revolutionary by any stretch of the imagination. Some effects looked average, some looked downright stupid, and others... Look, I think this model of Goro works. It's really not much different than any other puppeteering of the era, but it's fine. It's fine. By Mortal Kombat Annihilation, you'd expect a pretty moderate step up with effects. After all, the games are filled with green projectiles and monster creatures and flashy costumes. But the studio decided to ramp up the CGI to levels that just weren't needed. They didn't push the plot along meaningfully or really add any enjoyment to the movie. In fact, they detract from the mostly believable universe the first movie kind of operated in. It's a total mess with obvious chroma key flubs and poor reaction shots. And look, adding animalities while a small part of the game simply didn't need to exist in this movie.
Pretty cool, huh? It's my animality.
In the games, animalities were an extension of a fatality performed in the game. They served a point, but nothing beyond the challenge of not only beating your best friend as Jax, but also the added bonus of seeing him turn into a lion for some reason.
Finish him.
Jax wins. Flawless victory.
Pretty cool, huh?
We didn't get to see true-to-style fatalities in the first movie due to its rating, and we certainly weren't going to see them in Annihilation, so why even bother with adding nods to the source material if it serves no fucking purpose and looks like this? This is a clear example of what I like to call, we're not there yet. Nope, not there. You can pick out moments in cinema through the ages and say, yeah, this is passable, but with others, even as technology grows, we just can't make it look good. And this will cause movies to suffer in rewatchability. The original Mortal Kombat was a pretty faithful adaptation to the first game, and the costumes, for the most part, worked. and they were believable in the world they created. Annihilation, on the other hand, it looks like a porno parody. I mean, seriously, tell me this doesn't look like it's gonna go porno at any minute. The costumes of the main cast outside of Jax are nothing special. I mean, just like the game, the cooler costumes were reserved for the ninjas and robots. Mortal Kombat Annihilation was promised to be bigger and have more characters, but with that promise, a very high price is paid, and it shows. This is a huge step down in terms of costume quality, and the movie shifts into kind of made-for-TV territory. Rain, Ermac, Subzero, Scorpion look like they were all plucked out of a comic book convention. They just don't compare to the sleeker design of the originals. The goal of Mortal Kombat Annihilation was to shoehorn in more characters. It's like the execs were like, hey, don't worry, you hardcore Rain fans, guess who's gonna make an appearance this time around? And then he's killed, just so unceremoniously.
Rain. This will never happen again. It will never happen again.
I mean, look, are you a fan of Baraka? Well, get ready for him to make a brief appearance, looking like a pirate, and literally spending the majority of the fight swinging from chains, like a fucking pirate. The kicker, though? Liu Kang defeats him by knocking him off a dangling birdcage that Katana has been held in for the majority of the movie. And then they reuse the same footage of Rain falling into the fire by Shao Kahn.
I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh my.
Annihilation had a budget of $30 million and only managed to pull in $51 million after release. By all accounts, this movie was a financial disaster, and it closed the door for any Mortal Kombat movies for nearly 25 years. This movie enjoys a sad 2% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics stating, Annihilation offers minimal plot development and manages to underachieve the low bar set by its predecessor. Shit, even Mortal Kombat co-creators Ed Boon and John Tobias selected Annihilation as their personal worst moment in the history of their work on the franchise. That says a lot. As time goes on, video game movies have continually failed to capture what makes the games resonate with the audience. For me, I have a perfect analogy for the difference in quality between the Mortal Kombat movies when I saw them. Mortal Kombat 1 was shown at a movie theater in a mall to a packed crowd. That mall has since closed, and a church now resides where the movie theater once stood. Annihilation wasn't even given a large release in my hometown. It went straight to the dollar movie theater known as MovieWorks. In the theater, well, the seats were PVC poolside chairs. Literally. Not even a joke. This was a step down in both quality of the movie and the movie-going experience. As I got older, Annihilation went from a bad movie to a so bad it's good movie, where you'd watch it with a bunch of friends drinking beer, and after watching it this last time, I can safely say this movie will likely never be shown in my house ever again. There's just no reason to watch it.
Who does this dude think he is?
Now, I knew it would be a challenge to get through this movie this one last time, so I tried something a little bit different. I counted how many flips were performed in the movie. I counted 79, give or take. But even if I was only off by a few, 79 flips is just outrageous. That's like a flip a minute. Many of them don't even serve a purpose, and they look stupid as hell. Now, do I recommend this movie? Yes and no. If it's been a number of years since your last watch, I say go for it. With the new Mortal Kombat movie coming out soon, this might be a good rewatch just as a comparison on how far we've come in terms of quality.
Why was this treachery ever allowed?
But if you're someone who's just dipping your toes into the world of Mortal Kombat for the first time, avoid it. It does nothing to add to the lore, it gives little to no coherent backstory, and it really doesn't push the envelope in any meaningful way. It's not even a good martial arts film. Robin Shou does his best and is a talented martial artist, but those talents are honestly wasted in this movie. If there's one thing that Mortal Kombat Annihilation had taught me in the 90s was to temper my expectations when it comes to everything. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode of I Miss the 90s more so than you enjoy Mortal Kombat Annihilation. What were your thoughts when you first saw Mortal Kombat Annihilation? Leave a comment down below. Were you pissed off that Stryker and Cabal were just mentioned in passing, in name only? Because I sure was. Also, let me know if you're excited to see the new Mortal Kombat movie. I know that I am. I'm actually really looking forward to this. It looks good, comparatively, of course, to the previous installments. Once again, thank you for checking out this episode of I Miss the 90s. I'm your host, Mike O'Connor. Later, dudes.